Our guest tonight is a man of many monikers. He's a 7-time Mr. Olympia, 2-term governor of California, and 1-time barbarian with a new book called Be Useful, 7 Tools for Life. It comes out October 10th. Please welcome Arnold Schwarzenegger. Thank you for being here. It's great to have you here on our first night back. I always love talking to you. And you were governor during that writer's strike in 2007 when we were on the air at that time. Did you get involved in that? Is that a governor's place even to get involved with the strike and to bring both sides together to try to get them to settle?
Well, you try to inspire them to speed up the process.
I see.
You know, so that's the most
By
important thing.
threatening them physically?
But look, that too.
Yeah.
But the things that you wish you could do, you can't do.
As governor?
Like, well, as governors, doesn't matter what you are.
Really?
Because, you know, when I think about when I was a kid, and my brother and I, we would have a fight or a disagreement, my father would just lock us in a room, and he says, you can't get out of here until you solve the problem. So I said to myself, well, that would be actually a great idea for a dispute like that.
An escape
so imagine
room.
now that you have the strike, the writer's strike and the actor's strike.
Yes.
Yeah, and you go and you say to them, okay, the studio executives and the union leaders, they have to go in the room and you lock them up.
Right, yeah.
And you can't get out before the strike is settled.
But what
before the negotiations are settled.
Yes.
You say that there will be no food.
But actors don't eat food
and no
anyway.
bathrooms.
Bathrooms?
No nothings. Absolutely nothing.
Okay.
You know, imagine now the studio executives, all of them, they can't go to Spargos. They can't go to the Scala. They can't go to any of their favorite restaurants.
Yes.
The union leaders, they get upset. They have to go home. They want to be with their families. So there's an urgency there.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you within a few days, the strike will be settled.
Right, right.
So that's the way you have to do
Maybe
it. Maybe
put them in a plane covered with diarrhea. Who
absolutely.
knows?
That's another good idea. Yeah, exactly. That's why I say no bathrooms.
You must have, I would imagine you have great appreciation for screenwriters because you, as an actor, have delivered more classic one-liners than probably anyone ever. Yes?
Well, absolutely.
Like the one we always talk about, like, I'll be back. Did you know when you saw that on the page that was going to be a big deal?
No, I have to say that most of the lines that I've used, we did not know ahead of time that they're going to be funny lines, or they're going to be lines that people will repeat over and over again. And then with I'll Be Back, I remember, as a matter of fact, we had in the beginning a dispute, the director and I, because I didn't feel comfortable with this I'll be back. This LL type of a thing. So I said to him, I said, why don't I just, since I already talk like a machine, I might as well just say, I will be back. And he says, no, it doesn't sound as good. And I said, well, it sounds better to me. He says, let's just forget about the I'll be back. Let's just do I will be back. And he says, Arnold, are you the writer here, or what is going on here? And then I said, no, I'm not the writer. He says, well, I'm the writer. So I decide what we're going to do, and we're going to stay with I'll be back. And then that's exactly what we did. We shot 10 different takes with I'll be back, and then one of them they used. And we did not know this is going to be such a famous line until the movie came out. And I remember I walked in Central Park, and someone came up to me and said to me, says, can you repeat this line that you said in German? I said, which line? Well, I'll be back. And I said, I'll be back. And they said, no, the way you said it in the movies. And the way you say it in the movie was just perfect. And I said to him, I'll be back. And he says, yeah, that
is really great. You wrote that you actually at one time took accent removal lessons, true?
Yeah, I should get my money back for that one. You're absolutely right. There was this guy, Robert Easton.
Okay.
And Robert Easton was like the speech doctor, and he was kind of like teaching the most famous actors in the history how to create accents. But I don't think he ever worked on for someone to get rid of an accent. You know, so if someone was a British guy and he wanted to have an Irish accent, he would be the specialist that would teach you how to do that. And if you're from New York and you wanted to have a Southern accent, he would teach you how to have that Southern accent. But I don't think he ever dealt with anyone that was like from Germany or from Austria and supposed to get rid of the German accent.
Could you do like a New York accent or a Southern accent or an Australian accent?
I can't even do an American accent. What the hell are you talking about here? But I tell you. But I was running around, I remember that he had me say lines like, you know, a fine wine grows on a vine. So there was the F, the W, and the V, because this was very hard for Germans, because we only say, this is a good red wine, not wine.
Right.
With a we. So with a W. So anyway, so he was saying, a fine wine grows on a vine. So I was just repeating this and repeating it. Or the zinc, the sink is made out of zinc. Or like the TH, the Germans always say the TH with an S, like an S, 3, rather than 3. So he had me say 3,333 and stuff like that. You know, so it was like always repeating this kind of thing.
I think you got it down pretty good.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
But look, I do as well as I can.
I want to ask you a quick question about Donald Trump because you guys both hosted The Apprentice. You don't necessarily see eye to eye on most things. He listed his weight at 215 pounds. You are one of the foremost experts on the male physique, bodybuilding, etc. When you size him up, what would you guess that man weighs?
You know, I don't really know how much he weighs. I can tell you one thing, that if you would ask me what should you do for fitness, I would just say run around yourself 3 times. You're going to be in great shape.
So do you think it is possible that he weighs 215 pounds?
Yeah, as much as it's possible that there is no climate change. and as much as it's possible that we don't need to really reduce pollution and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, look, we all know that the way he is, and if it makes him feel good to, tell everyone he weighs 215, I think everyone laughs about it because he does not look like he weighs 215. I mean, it looks a little bit more like maybe 315 or something.
315, yeah. When you mentioned climate change, and when I hear you talk about things, I always have to remind myself that you're technically a Republican because it doesn't seem like you're a Republican on especially a lot of important things, like climate change is one of them. And what do you think when you look at the party and what's going on right now in Congress? Do you think of yourself as a Republican still? I'm
a proud Republican. And I tell you why, because I'm a traditional Republican. Remember that the one that put most of the land aside for future generations was Teddy Roosevelt. He was a Republican. Ronald Reagan created the Air Resources Board in California, most important board in order to really be able to execute all of the things, all the laws that we pass. President Nixon created the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency in Washington. President Nixon wanted to do universal health care. So these were people that were sane Republicans and that really were thinking more about what was good for the people rather than being stuck in the ideological corners. Today, a lot of Republicans and a lot of politicians get stuck in the ideological corners and they just can't get along, which is totally ridiculous because we all know, especially since I learned a lot of my lessons from sports, that you cannot win as a team if you don't work together. And Americans have to work together. Democrats and Republicans have to work together. That is the bottom line.
Yeah. But at a certain point, the traditional Republican Party doesn't exist anymore. I mean...
No, but we have to inspire that. It doesn't mean that we should run the other way or we should give up. There's moments in life where it needs leadership and where you have to encourage people to work together. I tell you one thing, whenever I go back to Washington and I lobby for money for after-school programs or stuff like that, sometimes administrations want to take that money out. So I go back there and lobby. And I ask a bunch of Democrats and a bunch of Republicans to come together. I explained to them why after-school programs are very important, that 70% of the kids come from homes where both of the parents are working, and therefore we need to have something available, some adult supervision in the afternoon, and on and on and on. You know, both parties, Democrats and Republicans, they come together and they say, Arnold, we promise you, we're going to fight for that money so it stays in the budget. I don't see those fights that you normally see in Washington. So I think what we need is really leadership to bring people together and to teach both parties not to look at the other side as the enemy. We are all on the same side of the fence. We are Americans, and we have to come together. The greatest things are always accomplished in America if we work together, Democrats and Republicans alike, working together. And that's what we have to encourage them to do.
This is the book. It is Arnold Schwarzenegger's Be Useful 7 Tools for Life. We'll be right back with Governor Schwarzenegger. Back with the one and only Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is his book called Be Useful 7 Tools for Life. Why did you write this book?
To help people become more successful. I've been asked so many times, you know, how did you do this in bodybuilding? How did you do this in acting? How did you come to America? How did you get your visa over here? How did you become successful? How did you become rich? And all of those kind of things. So I said to myself, people need help. You know, we have in everything that you do, if you go skiing, you have a skiing coach and stuff like that. If you can play soccer, you have a soccer coach. There's very rarely anyone around that is teaching people simple rules or giving them the tools that they can use to become more successful. And to really, because people are frustrated sometimes, they don't know how to move forward, how to get a job that they really like, how to make more money, how to become financially independent, how to become a greater athlete, how to pick a goal, or whatever it is. And so this book gets into all of the things that I've learned throughout the years on how to become more successful and how to do the kind of things that really is deep inside your heart and creating a vision and then chasing that vision with all the energy that you have.
In a way, you wrote this so people stop bothering you.
Basically.
Yeah, that too, yeah. You mentioned in the book that when you came to Los Angeles, you worked as a bricklayer for some time, you had like a business with another bodybuilder?
Yes. Well, in bodybuilding, there was no money. So it was kind of like, even though I was already a professional bodybuilder, but it was like being an amateur. We couldn't make a living. So we were doing seminars and we were doing posing exhibitions and strongman acts, but we knew that there was not enough money to really start saving money, putting some money aside and buying maybe some real estate and starting to invest and so on. So we started working, and my friend was a professional bricklayer. And so I said to him, why don't we partner? Let's go and get together and start, doing bricklaying jobs. I will be a laborer and I will mix the cement and do all those kind of things and get the material and figure out how much it will cost and write down the estimates. I was good in business and good in math. And so that's exactly what we did. And so what was really funny about it was that we had this kind of, he was Italian and I was Austrian, and they always argue about things. And so we created those arguments. I remember there was people that said, how much would this cost? And Franco would say, this is $5,000. And the person would say, well, I cannot afford $5,000. I said, let me deal with it. I said, and so I would then write up things, in German with the centimeters and meters that no one could understand, and they would start putting the estimate together in D-marks and in shilling and Austrian shilling and all this stuff. And then they started going to Franco, and I said to Franco, and Franco said, and so we will be creating this huge fight in the corner, and then I will go back to the guy and says, we did it. I said, it's going to be $4,388 exactly. But of course, it cost only $2,000 really to do the job. So, that guy felt like he got a really great break.
Yeah, well, sure, everybody's happy,
In the meantime, we made really good money. And that's what we did. And so to me, it was, and I talk about that in the book, how I used the day, the 24 hours fully. Because I slept 6 hours, we worked 5-6 hours every day, and I went to school for 2 hours a day. I worked out 5 hours a day. I went to acting classes. And all of this kind of stuff all packed into one day. So there's a lot of stuff that I did.
You had quite a day in April, and I don't know if you remember this happening. You probably remember it, but there was a video on the news. There was a pothole in your neighborhood, and you got sick of the pothole. And you started, well, let's show that video. You got out there to fill the pothole yourself.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You have to do it yourself. This is crazy. For 3 weeks I've been waiting for this hole to be closed.
What? Now, so then the city or somebody said, wait a minute, that wasn't a pothole. That was, what did they say it was?
A service trench.
A service trench.
A service trench.
And
it
there was a
like
man down in there, right?
For three, I bet them it was like for a month. And then nothing happened. And then the hole got bigger and bigger, and people started wiping out on their bicycles and motorcycles, and said, this is ridiculous. The city would not respond at all. And so I said, well, I'm going to get some asphalt. I know exactly how to do that. I used to do construction work.
You and Franco.
So exactly. Yeah. So we got the asphalt and we started fixing it. I did the same thing up in Sun Valley in Idaho. There was a road that was getting up to our house, and in April, the snow started going away and melting. The ice started melting, and the hole started getting bigger and bigger. And then now it was end of August, and the holes were still not fixed. So I again went out and got some asphalt and started fixing the holes there and all this stuff. And so, I mean, I just, look.
You take care of business.
The bottom line is, it doesn't help when you sit out there and complain. The question you always have to ask yourself is, what do you do about it? Mm-hmm. You know, when people say, that education is not good in our public schools, I say, what do you do about it? Are you going to help the kids reading, with the reading, help with the tutoring, going to help and do something for the community or for our education system or for the kids or something like that? What do you do? So the same is with this one. It doesn't make any sense if you start complaining the city doesn't do their job, they're lazy, they don't have the priorities right, and all this stuff. I said to myself, I can go and do something. I can go and fix it. And it's done.
And it's done.
Now, I tell you, it's the best fixed hole, the pothole there is.
That's what they're saying.
That I can guarantee you.
You had by the way, congratulations. I know you had a new grandchild. Your daughter, Katherine, had a baby since the last time I saw you. And not only do you have a new grandchild, you've got a new animal in your home. I think we have some video here. You had the donkey, and you got a dog, but now you got a pig, too. Where'd you get the pig?
My girlfriend gave it to me.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, exactly. And so I always wanted to have a pig because George Clooney, when I did Batman and Robin with him in the 90s, he had a little pig with him, and it ran around with him all over the place, on a set and everywhere, and in his motorhome. And so that inspired me kind of, I think that's just really cute to have a little pig. And so I got a little pig. The only thing they said, it was like 20-some years ago. But my kids started going on this competition, like who feeds this animal more food? And it's like, they thought this was really great. One was giving him 1 apple, then the other one was coming with 2 apples instead of the pig. Then the third kid came home and he started giving bananas and apples and pears. And all of a sudden, this pig ended up being 300 pounds. It's supposed to be a miniature pig. So I had to send it to a fat farm. I mean, imagine how crazy that is. If I sent it to a fat farm, it was 300 pounds.
I heard it was 215. Is that right? Oh, man, the grandkids must be. Were you a strict dad when your kids were little? Were you strict?
Well, it depends what your definition is. For, I think, the way I grew up, I was lenient. But I think for American standards, probably strict.
Can you give me an example of what would be considered strict?
I think the thing that my kids bring up most often is that my son, for instance, did not make his bed. He had the nanny make the bed, and which was not allowed. I said the kids have to make their own bed. They have to scrub their own showers. They have to clean their own toilet, and they have to wash their own clothes. And so I came in one time, and the bed was made so immaculately that I looked at that and I said, Patrick, did you do that? And he said, no, I didn't. So I grabbed the mattress, I opened up the doors, grabbed the mattress and threw it out the balcony down into the swimming pool. So that gives you an example, just the kind of, so he had to kind of drag it up the mattress and the pillows, I threw everything
You
out
really
there.
wet the bed is what happened,
exactly.
yeah.
And like when my daughter would have this habit of, just taking her tennis shoes off and putting them right there by the fireplace, and I said, I'm not gonna go and be a servant here. I said, so you know where the shoes go. They go into the mud room. I said, don't put them here. I said, because I do it one time, but I don't do it a second. So anyway, I took it a second time away, and then the third time I said, okay, look, I've told you now for 3 times. I told you I'm going to burn the shoes. So I took the shoes and I put them in the fireplace, and I burned the shoes. And so things like that I would do, or unscrewing the light bulbs. I had one kid that just loved to leave the lights on. And I said to him, look, I grew up where there was a shortage of electricity after the Second World War in Austria. So I said, we had to always turn off the lights. I said, and California has sometimes is short of electricity and of power. I said, they have blackouts and brownouts. I said, so let's always turn off the lights. Yeah, okay, Daddy. Next time I go in the room, the lights were on, full bright. So I said to him, you know what I do? I'm gonna unscrew a light bulb every time that you don't turn off the lights. And he went in there laughing his head off and saying, yeah, there's 7 light bulbs up there on this chandelier. He says, this makes no difference to me. I said, I understand. So, of course, comes day 7, now it was dark. And he was 5 years old,
It's
and
like
he was
the opposite
freaking
of
out.
Hanukkah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and he was freaking out, going alone into his room at night when it was dark.
Yeah, right.
So I said, okay. I said, now you're crying. I said, what do we do now? How do we solve that? And he says, I'm going to turn the light off. I promise. And from then on, I put the light bulbs back. From that point on, he always turned off the lights.
These are good lessons.
So this is
good lessons.
So this is the kind of things that I do with the kids.
Arnold Schwarzenegger has many things to teach us. This is a book. It's called Be Useful: 7 Tools for Life. Thank you for being here, Governor.
Absolutely.
Arnold
Thank you.
Schwarzenegger, everybody. We'll be back with Jason Isbell and the 400.